Thank you everyone for coming out. Today is Thursday, April 27th. This is devICT Presents. I want to just go through some quick slides just to kind of introduce us and introduce the event. So devICT, this is a program or a group that's ran by members of MakeICT, Wichita's Makerspace. If you're not familiar with MakeICT, check them out at makeict.org. We're a community for developers, any kind of software developer. Our mission is to educate, empower, and connect software developers in the Wichita area. We have a code of conduct that we take very seriously. We're dedicated to a safe and inclusive experience for everyone. If you have any problems or concerns, please reach out to me. And our full code of conduct is available on our website. I want to briefly cover some ways that you can be involved. The absolute best way to be involved in devICT is to get into our Slack chat team, and there's someone on there pretty much every day. If you go to the website devict.org, there's a link at the top you can click to get an invitation into the chat room. We also try to record our presentations and put them up on that site. This one's being recorded right now. So also on devict.org, you can watch past presentations. Another way to be involved is to donate. Membership in the organization will always be free, and our events are almost always free as well. But we do incur costs for using this space, for our meetup group on meetup.com. So our costs are about $100 a month, and right now we get recurring donations of like $107 a month. So it works out pretty well, but we also don't have a lot of margin there or room to do anything extra. So small recurring donations, $2, $5, something like that, those are the best, and that's what we want. Also on the website devict.org, there's a page just talks about how you can donate and set up like a recurring contribution. Another way to be involved is to give a talk. This is a great way to learn about a topic that you're interested in. If you commit to talking about something in front of 10 to 30 people, that's, for a lot of people, a good motivator to learn about that thing. We have open slots for July, I think, and maybe August. So that's plenty of time to prepare. If you're interested in giving a talk about something, just let me know. And some people also like to use these kind of like local meetup groups as a place to practice a presentation that they want to pitch and then try and deliver at a larger, like regional or national or international conference. We also run a mentorship program. It's very loosely organized, but what we're trying to do is just to connect mentors with mentees. So if you're interested in being a mentor, let me know and I can show you how to get your information up on the site. If you are interested in being a mentor, in connecting with a mentor, on devict.org/mentors, there's a list of the people that have volunteered. Just go on there, find someone that matches what you're looking for, and shoot them a message in Slack. I want to give some quick shout outs to our friends, other groups in the area that we're friendly with. As I mentioned before, MakeICT is Wichita's largest nonprofit makerspace, maker community. We also have, there's Women to Code, we're good friends with them. There's Open Wichita, is Wichita's open data civic hacking group. There's a lot of projects they have going on over there. WULUG is the Wichita State Linux Users Group. You don't have to be a Wichita State student to attend their meetings. Their address is there. Startup Wichita and Shocker Startup are two entrepreneurial startup-focused groups. Shocker Startup is for students, I believe, at Wichita State. There's Wichita Talks, is a group that they give kind of like TEDx style or Ignite style talks every quarter or so. And then here's a new one I added on. At MakeICT, Kim Burton is trying to start up a Toastmasters club. So if you're interested in practicing public speaking or gaining confidence talking to a group of people, that's literally all this club is people practicing public speaking in front of each other, which is great. So reach out to Kim Burton at MakeICT if you're interested in that. All right, upcoming events. Every Monday night, we run an event here called Study Hall, which is just people coming and working on whatever you need to work on, and people are around to ask questions, help each other out. That's from 7 to 9 here at the Labor Party every Monday. every Thursday morning, there's Code and Coffee, which is basically the same thing, but it's before work instead of after work. And so that's Thursday mornings. On the second Saturday of the month, we have the Game Dev Potluck. This is people come in usually around 10 a.m. here at the Labor Party, and they just spend the whole day working on making games or playing games if you want. That's fine too. No one's judging. And it's potluck style, so bring food or order pizza or whatever. It's just people hanging out all day. We also have a social event that we just call the Hangout. We have a lot of these tech events, so we try to have some a little bit more just social, not necessarily technical focused. And that's the Hangout is on the second Tuesday of the month. Okay, so for our talks, our presentations that we do, there's on the third Tuesday of the month, there's a group that gets together at High Touch, and they talk about stuff related to Java and the JVM ecosystem. So like Groovy, Scala, Kotlin, Java, whatever. Then on the fourth Tuesday of the month here at the Labor Party is .NET Night. So that's basically the same thing, but for the .NET and C#, ASP.NET, VB, whatever kind of ecosystem. And then this event, devICT Presents, is always on the last Thursday of the month, and this is the one where the topic changes every time. Which leads into tonight's topic, is lightning talks, which is no particular topic. We're just going to talk about whatever. A handful of people have mentioned that they were interested in giving a lightning talk, but you don't have to have anything prepared, and you don't have to be on the list. So we're just going to go through anybody that wants to get up and share something. There's no minimum duration, but there is a maximum. So I'll have a timer going. I'll give you a warning at 5 minutes, and at 7 minutes, I'll kick you off. So I'll just go ahead and begin. Super informal, I wanted to show a useful tool. So I wanted to show so this is for web developers. If you're not a web developer, maybe just tune out for a couple minutes, and the next topic might be more interesting. In Chrome, Firefox has developer tools that are very good as well, but I just wanted to show off some of the Chrome developer tools. So I'm looking at this website here, and I want to work on something. Specifically, like I want to see how well does this perform in mobile, like when I look at the site on my phone. If you open the tools, I always do it this way. I right-click on something and hit inspect. So it brings up these tools. Where I can make it a little bigger. Where it's like showing like the body of my document. There's some stuff about like the CSS that's applied to it. There's a whole bunch of stuff, cool stuff in here which you can go through. I specifically wanted to show off this little feature here, this toggle device toolbar. When you turn it on, it puts the browser into this like phone emulation mode. So in this case, we're emulating like a Galaxy S5. So we can see that someone on an S5, when they go to our site, this is how it looks. Oops, let me go forward. So you can see, it changed. Without emulation, we had like these 3 columns of things, so this wouldn't really work. So we have like responsive design here. So when you turn this on, oh, cool, this is what's like on S5. But you can change it. Let's see what it looks like on like an iPhone 6 Plus. Okay, it's just a little bit different. What if we wanted to see what it looked like? Here, let's do like, make it a little bigger just so we can see it. You can also put it in, when the user rotates their phone, puts it into the landscape, it would look like this. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Maybe I don't specifically care about the iPhone 6, like that one model. I just kind of want to know like a range of sizes, right? You can put it, there's a mode called responsive where you get these bars that you can just like drag, and you can see like the different breakpoints where it changes. And they also have these kind of built in here, some like predefined popular breakpoints like for a tablet, for large mobile device, medium or small mobile device. So it's kind of cool. Or you can even specifically say, what does it look like at 406 pixels? sometimes some websites are responsive. Most of them are responsive based off of the width of the viewport, but sometimes they detect your type of device at the server and then just serve you a completely different set of content. So to deal with those sites, you can. Or did they take off? I think did they move it? Here we go. Let's zoom this thing out a little bit. Yeah, okay. So I don't know, you probably can't see it right here. There's a spot where you can put in the user agent to send when it makes the request. So like for a, let's see if it'll show me the iPhone 6. No? I guess it'll show you. Last time I used this feature, it was just like built into the toolbar up here. Just you picked which user agent you want to send. But anyway, so if you need to like mimic the user agent of an iPhone in order to get it to show you iPhone stuff, then you can do that. And I just thought that feature was pretty cool. And that's it. That's for Lightning Talk. That's all I wanted to cover. So for the rest of, we've got about 45 minutes to an hour. So I'm going to start needing volunteers. Who would like to go next? Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Wrong your name again?
Paul.
Paul. Okay. Maceberg?
Yes.
All right, Paul, come on up. And what are you going to cover? What do you want to talk about?
I'm going to talk about a tool, HTTP, which is curl for human beings.
Okay. Let's see how we can get you on here. I think I might have installed it. Would you be comfortable just using this one? Probably. It's all different. Okay, so what's your Gmail?
pdmaceberg@gmail.com.
So I could invite you to this. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Huh? That's the thing. All right, let's turn this off for a second. All right, if you're watching the video, please just hold tight. Like that?
Yep. That's me.
Invite is sent. Let's see if this works. Did it send you anything?
Not seeing anything.
Here's what we'll do.
I mean, if you do have SSH and terminal, I think I can make it work.
Oh, yeah. That works.
Let's just do that. VIP and
user P Maceberg. Format to that. Yes.
all right.
Cool. All right, once you do that, I'll get the screen going again. Cool. Thank you for holding, internet people. Okay, Paul, take it away.
All right.
And
So
I'll just give you like a 5.
5.
We got like 5 minutes.
Of course, on this Mac here, I have no idea what I'm doing. But how many people here develop web services that use JSON? Do you use curl at all on that? Have you used any other tools? Sort of. Okay, well, this one, HTTP is nice because if you've ever tried to send JSON in curl, you have to remember all the options. I personally have a very short and small memory, and so remembering like -D and typing out JSON can be very tedious. So I have a very advanced web service that I'm going to be running here tonight, actually. Jacob, how do you make like tabs or 2 terminals? Is that possible?
Command T.
Yeah.
Cut.
Oh, Command T.
Yep.
All right, and then to switch back again. All right. So the command,
Yeah, this is on my machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
that should work if you're just
actually, I will do it here because. What?
I mean, you could SSH in to the other one.
I think I can do it here.
Okay.
So let's just start with curl and show you this very advanced web service that I'm running here, so we can kind of compare and contrast. All right, so my web service is somewhat picky here. I made a little thing. You got what's up, devICT. So now it's like, that's great. What if I want to post data to this little web service instead of getting it? Well, you have to remember, I think it is a -x, although this. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's not actually the right option because I didn't type it in right. And it didn't respond with anything. So I'm like, why? Well, I need to go put a -v here. So, you know, you can use curl, and it's a good tool. I mean, in the Chrome Web Tools, one of the things in the network browsers, you can actually take any network request, and they have an option where you can save this curl. So it's actually really kind of a cool thing. If you're ever trying to debug something with Chrome, you can go make a curl. But in terms of like a human being typing, I find it to be very tedious. And so that is why this can be kind of a nice thing if you're trying to debug your web service that you're writing. Because first off, it shows me all this stuff just by default. It gives me nice, pretty printing here. If I want to actually do a post, by the way, this colon thing is just a shortcut for localhost. You can do HTTP, whatever host name. But then you can actually do like A = B, and that sends it as JSON, which I should show you in the other tab. Oops. What's that? Did I type that in there wrong? I think I did.
Did you pay homage to the demo gods
Nope.
before the talk?
I was like,
That's
I
the problem.
imagine this will go poorly, and we'll all have fun. So now we can actually see what I'm doing here. You can make the demo a little more fun, maybe. If only I could switch between tabs here. So that was the content. This little web server I have is dumping out the URLs, dumping out some headers, and then dumping out whatever I'm sending. So A = B turns into this JSON here. And so it can make it, if you have simple JSON that you're trying to create, HTTP can quickly make that easy. You can also do headers with like, let's say cookie colon blah. Oh wow, this is getting really. So here you see now cookie colon blah shows up. One of the nice features that it offers is if you have to log in to your web service and you do need to set the cookie, HTTP actually has a little session thing that it will typically make, but of course the demo gods aren't with me today. Typically in this directory, once it gets a little session created, it will show that host name. That may be because I'm being clever with my host name, and let me see if that's a problem. And so it will remember any cookies and headers, and so that way you can just like log in, and then that cookie will just be there with every post after that. At my work, we actually use that. We have a little Perl script to actually go manipulate that. And so we just say login, and it does the login route, sets that cookie header, and then we can do all of our other requests without thinking about the authorization and authentication part. Oh, it's not HTTPS. Yeah, I'm not really sure why it's not doing that today, but that's really the gist of it here. You can also, what was the other one? Headers. Oh, the query parameters are just this, where you have an equals. For some reason, it's not. I think it needs verbose. Oh, huh. Normally it's verbose by default, but here we're seeing that query parameter being tagged on there. So JSON query parameters and headers are all very easy syntax if you have stuff simple. Obviously, if your JSON becomes deeply nested and things, it's not going to keep working for you. But for simple objects and things, it can make it a lot easier than trying to remember all those curl options. And it's a lot more closer to what HTTP is, you know, post, get, put, whatever the method is right there. So that's pretty much it. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, just it's a Python project. I was going to show you the website, but my demo didn't start the way I thought it would. And you can use in Ubuntu, you can use apt, whatever Macs have. I'm sure there's brew and things like that. So just Google this HTTPIE and you'll find that. There's also a Go version that kind of mimics it. I've never actually tried it. One of the downsides of Python is sometimes when you go to run it, it'll just like pause as it's getting ready to go. And so you'll have like, you know, a second or two delay, I've noticed. But then if you're doing a bunch of requests, that typically is just like the first time where it's trying to get itself together. But yeah, so just Google that and there's a nice thing. There's another tool just to throw in JQ. I don't know if you guys have ever used that in terms of processing JSON. So if you're getting responses, there's like a -B option to only have the body spit out, and then you can pipe that into JQ and then filter JSON that you're getting with that. So you can use that with curl also. But any other questions?
Thank you, Paul. So I'm still logged into your laptop here. So let me just RF.
Stress test.
Okay. All right. Who's next? Who would like to talk about something? Lucas? Yeah. Jason?
I'll go next.
All right. You're up.
Good.
If anybody else was going to go and use their machine, I can get you invited into the Hangout so we can share your screen for the benefit of the people watching. But if you don't need it, it doesn't matter. But let's give a round of applause for Jason Vandekreek. Welcome to the stage. Yeah. Okay. Okay. This thing. All right. So I work at Wichita State, and one thing we do is like have to handle a lot of research data. And part of the issue there is people traditionally use Excel and stuff like that. And as soon as you know it, you have to have so much work. You have to distribute it amongst your team, and people are doing things inconsistently unless you like have some kind of shared macro system. Or so
I never thought about approaching my work with Excel. So we use something called a Python data notebook. And what it is it's a special project which allows you to run Python in a web browser. And you can share that, and you can share your notebooks, your formula, your code, and everybody can use the same process as they analyze their data. So this kind of short intro to that concept is about telling a story with data. And so the purpose of this image is a lot of time in data, like you'll find that you have some outliers. So you're like doing thousands of records, millions of records, and you'll find like a certain percentage of them are just complete baloney. Maybe they're missing, maybe they were like malformed, someone didn't put it in right, there was someone sending you data from different database systems. You never know, like strange stuff gets in there. So a major task is cleaning it up and wrangling it, is what they call it, and then getting some sense of a statistical outliers. So that's why Curry, an NBA player, is on the screen, because he is truly an alien outlier. So if you see this line here in the middle, this is the average of the best NBA players in the last 50 years for a three-point shooting season. So this is the best. Kobe Bryant, you might have heard of. He's like down here. So the more you are up here in that quadrant, the better you are at this particular stat. So this is what they call the average or the mean. This red line is 2 standard deviations above that. So normally, in a lot of data sets, you got junk up there. In NBA, you just happen to be a standout player if you hit that line. But somehow, Curry got up there to that corner, and we can find this just with text and like running statistics commands. But it's a little more informative to be able to tell like a data story by posing a question and then trying to communicate that. So if I was to show you a bunch of spreadsheets and say, look, I'm right, he's a better player, creating a visual like can say so much more than trying to shove a lot of words and paragraphs at people. So there is a website that links over to my colleague's GitHub account. So Mark Ernest sits back there. He created this chart, and we work on these Python notebooks together at WSU. So there's a website called alienoutliers.com. And what it does is it has a few things up there, and one of them is the notebook that we actually wrote, which generates this chart. So you get to see the data come in, and you get to see how it gets cleaned up, and then how you begin to build the chart. So just as a preview of that, I don't want to go too deep into that. I'll just pull up a previous 7-minute talk we did. So, of course, I already said it's Python. Pandas is a library. It says data frame, but all that means is like spreadsheet, if you want to think about that, columns and rows. Pandas is actually pretty fast. It's built on NumPy. In NumPy, it has this amazing multi-dimensional array that's written in C, highly optimized. So it's not necessarily slow, even though you might think the code is so high level. You can always go and check this out yourself. There's a website called try.jupyter.org, and Jupyter is actually the scaffolding or the infrastructure that allows this web-based stuff to work. Technically, it uses something called a message queue system. I forget the name of it now, but Python itself is considered a kernel, and Jupyter is responsible for providing the message queue interface and getting the kernels run. So really briefly, we read data in. Does that work? Yeah, there we go. We just read a CSV file in. This is like some free NBA player data. You kind of just examine it by typing head. Gives you a quick look at what's going on. And you've got some handy things in there. I think it uses CodeMirror in the background. And CodeMirror is a JavaScript text editor. So what I'll do is skip through here. You can look at this on your own if you want to go to the website. It's very common functions to clean up your data. You might have misspellings, strange shapes of data. You can fix your data types, examine all your columns and rows for anomalies. So let me skip down to the actual graphic. Here's our first chart. So we're just taking the data and we're applying it to this library called matplotlib. It's just something installed on the server and then you import it. So I'm just running the basic player data.plot.scatterplot, and I'm naming the x and y axis. So it gives me this kind of cool scatter plot, but I still can't tell my data story just by like saying, well, this is like curry up here. So you could make this interactive, or you could like put a bunch of annotations on. So we did the annotations thing. You can use JavaScript in D3 in combination with this. So you'll see it progresses. We added more dimensions with size and color. And then we're pretty much finished. So it's pretty much all I have. Anybody have any 20-second questions? But if you want to check it out, it's alienoutliers.com, and you can do it in 3D as well. So that's all.
Thank you, Jason. What type of data are you guys using it for? Like the issue? Talk about that. Your question of the video.
At Wichita State, we process a lot of behavioral health and child development research data. So it's things like, in a county in Kansas, how many people have graduated high school? How many children live in poverty? What are different rates from the census, from surveys, different health factors? And so we're hired by the state of Kansas to provide reports back to the state. And we're trying to measure whether positive progress is happening. So.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Will Chamberlain, there wasn't a 3-point line, so he maybe didn't stand in a certain place to make the shots. How did you get that data and figure it in?
We didn't do a whole lot of making considerations for the older data. So Mark might know the answer, but
Just drop that data.
we would just drop it in this case if we're doing more of a focused analysis.
Okay.
So we've probably dropped things that don't apply.
Thank you very much, Jason. Lucas, you ready? All right. Let's give a round of applause for Lucas Burson, who is going to be talking to us today about Jenkins. Okay. Is there anything that you need from me to get set up in here?
I'll just pull up their website.
Okay.
Probably find an example.
When you get to about 5 minutes, I'll do like 2 minutes left, just 1 minute left.
Okay. So Jenkins, okay, so there's cron jobs, which this is for build automation. You don't really do builds with cron, but you automate jobs. That's what I call a cron job. But Jenkins is a fancy cron, basically. It's this little guy with this nice little bow tie. So Jenkins is great for build automation, and it runs as a they call it a master node, and then you add slave nodes, and each slave is a different machine. So you can have like 10 Linux build slaves, or you can do a Mac slave or Windows slave. Now they have, with all those slaves, you run any job you want, and you can link them together. So you can get this crazy chain of jobs happening. I just wanted to show a couple examples, like what it looks like. A ton of companies use Jenkins. I think OpenStack. Oh, I should have found a picture beforehand, but oh yeah, there's OpenStack right there. Anyway, Jenkins. So they call it a pipeline once you have all your jobs set up in a queue. And these jobs run on events. So someone makes a pull request or adds a commit or adds a comment even or adds a git tag. Any kind of event that you want to start to trigger your job, your pipeline, you can do it. And so once it's running, you can do lots of stuff in parallel. So it's way better than any kind of manual stuff you do. And it's more for larger projects. You probably wouldn't want to do it, for fun, but yeah. But it is really fun to use. Another cool thing, it has tons of plugins. Like Docker, there's Docker plugins. You can run your build slaves can actually be in Docker, which is really cool. So that makes your environment totally separate from your build slave itself. And once you have a big project with lots of different branches, there's this thing called the Jenkins file. It's similar to, can you read that? Yeah, there.
You do command plus, it'll make it.
Command plus.
Yeah.
Travis CI and all those online build infrastructure stuff, they basically have their own language. It's usually a YAML file, but Jenkins does the same thing, but it's in Groovy. So here's a pipeline. It runs on any build slave, any agent, and then there's 3 stages: build, test, deploy. And you can do all this stuff in parallel or whatever you want. It's good for continuous integration. So you build it, test it. You can deploy it, but continuous delivery is kind of tricky. But anyway, all this makes a very happy build environment and better team in general. So cool. That's all I wanted to talk about with Jenkins. Any questions?
When the new version, I saw they had the pipeline feature. Do you ever use it where you can actually have it build multiple branches of the same project?
Yeah, the color.
The question.
He's asking about pipelines where you want to do it for different branches, like with the Jenkins file, right? Yeah, that's pretty easy. You do I forget the job name. They have a few different job types, but I think it's a multi-branch pipeline, and it auto scans all of your branches for you, and it'll create a kind of a sub-job under that for each branch, for every Jenkins file on those branches. So, and that's a good way to do it. You should do it that way, because then the alternative is you make a Jenkins job manually for each branch, and you get like hundreds of Jenkins jobs. You'd be crazy doing that, doing it the alternative way. But Jenkins files are great.
Is there a cloud version of Jenkins which is hosted instead of you having to maintain master and slave nodes?
Is there a cloud version? I think you have to host it yourself, but
There's probably a third party. Yeah, probably a third party host and make it.
yeah, I'm not sure. That might be tricky because there's all these build slaves, and usually it's really specific to your setup, but I could see it.
I think Jenkins has kind of positioned itself as the in-house
Yeah.
enterprise one, where we can't build our stuff on Circle CI or something. We have to keep it in our network.
Good point. Oh, they have a new thing called Blue Ocean. Sorry, this distracted me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's give Lucas a round of applause. And for Alex, go ahead and come on up here. Oh, yeah, that should be fine. Kelly, did you need to use your machine to show your stuff, or is it like a?
I could.
Can you just like send me the link?
Yeah.
And pull it up?
Let's do that.
Okay.
Send it to you in Slack.
Okay.
It's like a zip file download.
I should be able to make that work. We have to do like a little dance to keep people entertained.
That's exactly
while-
right.
For this part here. That's you. Okay. Download the zip. It's going 16 megabytes. It's almost done. Let me quit out of here. And then let me, what is in it?
It's HTML.
Cool.
We'll have to open it up in Safari.
Okay. Do I have to host like a server? I can just do it like this. Do not. No, thank you. This one. Is it going?
Maybe. It should. If it doesn't, we could. This thing.
No, this is probably easier. Okay, let's go to file. Different location. Oh, I guess that doesn't work.
No dice. Shoot.
So what? Okay, so why doesn't that work?
That's a good question.
Let's just try. I'll try a server. Go to. Looks different. Is it working?
Oh, it kind of looks like it's working.
I like dev tools.
Yay! There we go.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, it just
There you
needed,
go.
it needed a real server.
Brilliant.
Okay. So let me close out of this and share screen. And it's fine.
Rock on.
Okay. All right. Let's give another round of applause for Kelly. 2 minutes left and 1 minute.
You got it. Wow. I turned around and there's a lot more people than I anticipated. I was like this intimate group here, but that's okay. So I'm Kelly Johnson. I am a budding game developer in the local area of Wichita, but I do my real job is a video producer and motion graphics artist. So I'm here to talk today about the game jam that's upcoming and try and convince as many of you to come, which is why it's timely, which is why I wanted to go in front of Alex before I had to leave. So that's who I am. That's what I'm here to talk about. I made this tiny little game to keep my thoughts in order. So there we go. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, we got this little guy. The first consideration that I have for you guys, particularly when you're thinking about participating in a game jam, first of all, how many of you are really considering doing the game jam? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, everybody's hand should be up, and you can just pander, and do it to me anyway. Like, yeah, just raise your hand. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so the reason why you should do the game jam is, and I had this awesome quote in my head about why you should do it, but it boils down to the formula, or why game jams are important, is because it allows you and gives you an environment to fail really fast, right? So like if you're not a game developer, if you're not interested in game development or even just like small tiny projects in general, doing it in a weekend in a short amount of time with like limitations allows you to produce a product that you're okay with it sucking. Like that's kind of it's not the goal, but it definitely gives you a different environment than like, you know, you taking on an initiative by yourself to produce like a game in this instance over a couple months that may, you know, end up failing at the end of it. Like you could totally be burned out by the project, or you could, you know, go on to make $1 million. It doesn't matter. The game jam allows you to do it in a short amount of time, truncated, so that by the end of it, you get a product, and it makes you happy. But before you do that, before you like participate in the game jam, I think the most important question that you can ask yourself is, why are you there? Like, what's the goal of it? Like, and there could be a myriad of reasons. It could be that you want to win the competition, or it could be that you want to make friends, or that you could try something completely new that you've never done before, which the people that didn't raise their hands, I would urge you to do that because it was a lot of fun. I participated in last December's game jam. I happened to win, which was awesome, which was a great experience. But I would actually say the best experience that I got out of that thing was the community coming in and playing your games, because that is invaluable to somebody who's spent the last couple of years just like in a dark room typing on a computer, like, and nobody playing your games. At a game jam, you have an audience that, how many minutes? Oh, okay. So at a game jam, you have an audience that comes in and plays your games. Like, that's invaluable to you, and it's an awesome experience. The best experience, actually, that I would say, there was a girl there who was some sort of disabled. She couldn't use her hands, and just watching her play my game with her disability and figuring out how to use a combination between the keyboard and the little controller that I set up next to her was absolutely amazing. It was great. It took her like 30 minutes to complete my game, but she did it, and she was ecstatic, and I was ecstatic, and that's a treasure that I'll have as I go forward, and, you know, consider my audience as I make more stuff, right? So you have to understand your goal about why you're participating in the game jam, or you're going to end up, you know, going through a weekend and, you know, tossing it away like it's a bad experience. So with that consideration, like, let's say my goal is to, I don't know. Oh wait, there we go. Yep, boom, shakalaka. Is to produce a product that I want to demo later, that I want to build after the fact. Like, nobody goes into a game jam expecting to come out with a product that's going to sell and you can retire on that money, right? Like, it's not feasible. Game development takes a very long time. No matter how you look at it, it's like 90%. What's the thing, like 90% something or other, and then like 10% polished, but that's what takes like the months and months in time, like beta testing and all that junk. So I would urge you to scope really, 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 really small. Like, you want to come out with the minimum viable product for your idea, for your game, or whatever it is. Like, that's if your goal is to win, you want to produce a really polished, short, small game. If your goal is to make friends, you want to participate with other team members that everybody's proud of and everybody's happy with. If you want to develop new skills, you want to create a small project that's really focused on that particular skill that you learned that weekend, right? You don't want to create, you know, an MMORPG retro action shooter pointer clicker cow tipper game, right? Like, that's too big. It's way, way, way too big to think about. You know, the example that I have is, oh, actually, it kind of ties into this next one. So we'll just go live by rules, number 4, because we only have a minute left. I would highly suggest that you live by your own set of rules that you impose on yourself, right? Like, Jim has his rules for the game development, and that's great, and you have the theme, and it kind of guides you to this. But I would urge you to create your own set of rules that restricts your game development to the most basic, the smallest that you can do. So, for example, like, my game. It was super BLT. It was one room. My rule was that I wasn't going to touch the camera. I was going to set the camera and not do any animation to the camera because I didn't know how to do it, and that would have taken way too much time. My other consideration was that all of my art was going to be hand-drawn art. I was going to draw it in a notebook, take a photo of it, cut it out, and that's exactly what I did. That's all that it was. It wasn't anything super fancy, and those were my only 2 rules. What imposed rules does for you is basically shrinks your canvas into what you can do, right? Like, you can't over scope with a set of rules, and I'm out of time. So with that, like, come out to the Game Jam, which is July 28th. And even if you don't participate, come out and be a participant in the playing of Game Jams and in the playing of Game Jam games, because it's really important to the development of all the Game Jammers that are there that weekend. So
Take questions.
yeah, question. Anybody? Yeah. Alex in the back. What?
Are you a programmer?
I do not consider myself a programmer. I try so hard. I try really, really hard to be a programmer. And there's a reason for that,
Do you
because
write code?
I do write code for my game.
Are you interested in learning anything on shaders?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yes, but it's one of those things that, like, I have to focus really, really hard on learning code because it does not come easy to me. It's taken me years to get to a basic understanding where I can read other people's code in C#. Like, if you showed me any other code, I would be totally lost. So no, not a programmer, but I try. I try really hard.
So that.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions? There you go. Yeah.
ICTGameJam.com.
Okay, friends.
Tickets now on sale.
I have to go to a meeting.
Thank you for
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
out,
no.
Kelly.
Yeah, of course.
And let's give Alex a hand while he comes up here to present on Unity shaders. All right, so I'm going to. You can go ahead and start sharing your screen. Okay, so I see your screen. I present it to everyone. That should be the thing. Cool. So then,
Don't know my email.
I don't have everything set up now.
it's all right. Now, let me stop my own screen share. And you're presenting. Okay, so this should be good on the video. We're just going to keep using my microphone. I think that's about what
All
we're
right,
gonna
I
do.
have to fire something up. I'm cheating right now. I'm using extra time that's not on the timer. Yes. Get Community 2017 programmers. It's really fast.
Plenty of time for people to get on their phones and go to ICTGameJam.com. Early bird tickets are on sale. Only $20 this year.
All right. I should probably set up the scene a little bit while I was, back there not setting up my scene. Okay, I really apologize for this.
You're fine.
All right. And all right. Oh my gosh. I should really set this up. I'm so sorry.
Hey, this isn't, I haven't seen this before. Yeah, this is amazing.
Level design 101. Camera, wall, you're done. No. So I'm Alex Keeker. Probably the youngest person here, sadly, still in braces and diapers. Not really. But today I'm going to be kind of going shaders 100.5. It's going to be extremely rapid fire, and hopefully by the end of this, I'll at least have you game developers out there interested enough in shaders to learn the headache that is undebuggable code. So basically, what is a shader? Well, a shader, it's the type of shader that I'm going to be, At least the shader that I'm going to be kind of going over is like a screen effect shader. So, you know, kind of what makes Unreal look so good, various effects, and that sort of thing. So to kind of show what I'm talking about, or to kind of get everyone familiar with the concept of kind of how a pixel works, so you can go void on render image.
Alex, can you make the text larger?
Sure thing.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so basically all of your screen effect shaders will start from this function on render image. And basically this function is called every single time the camera renders an image, and you get the source render texture and the destination render texture. And basically you'll blitz something to the destination render texture. So in order to kind of demonstrate the shader pipeline, I'm gonna go create shader, image effect shader, and oh boy, boom. Okay, I'm gonna have to kind of like go. Oh, I was not all right. Anyway, so essentially, what I'm gonna write just kind of a basic shader. Actually, you know what, that is a basic enough shader. And then gonna go create material again. So basically, what is a shader? Well, so I'm going to kind of go over the different properties of a shader. So first of all, you have the name. It's kind of in a weird format. So basically, you have the name of the shader, and with the hidden tag, it's going to just be hidden. So I'm just going to put in here custom, or custom. Why not? All right. So then you go into here, and then you go to your shader name, right? And then, you know, the slashes will kind of make like a fake directory type thing. Okay. And so next, if you want to actually start like rendering shaders to your destination texture, what you're going to do is generally what you do is you pass in a material, is you create like a material in your start function, and then you just pass in the shader to the material, but I'm lazy and I just pass in the material directly. Sure. And then, okay, so then, all right. And so what you're going to see here is I'm going to attach this to the camera. Oh, come on. It didn't even. Okay, never mind. Don't you just love trackpads? So essentially, whenever you start it, it's going to invert the colors. All right, so the colors are now inverted. Okay, so what's happening? Well, essentially what's happening here is, so first of all, in every shader, you have several stages, but I'm going to be focusing mainly onto the vertex stage and the fragment stage. So the vertex stage is basically whenever it's transforming all of your vertices into basically points, you know, that you see them. So every piece starts out as data, and then the vertex stage is what moves them, what transforms them relative to your camera, because nothing in graphics is really 3D. It's all just kind of an elaborate optical illusion, and Unity, of course, handles that stuff for you. But the main thing that I'm going to be focusing on is the fragment stage. So in your render texture, you get the fragment stage, and this is the most important stage because this is basically saying, okay, I'm going to get in this pixel, and then I'm going to put out this pixel. So SV target right here is basically saying, okay, so this fixed 4 will write to the currently bound like target, and fixed 4 is just kind of a vector 4. It's just a color essentially. Okay, and I'm going to use up all 7 minutes. So what's happening here is you just get your color, you sample the texture, and then you just return the texture. No, you return the color, 1 minus the color, which essentially inverts it. So if it's, you get like a bright white, it's just going to return 0.1, and it's going to be darker than the original. Okay, so now let's just write a basic bloom shader. So essentially what you're going to be doing here is now we're going to be exploring the properties. So the properties, basically main text is what's, properties is parts of the shader that are exposed to script. So main text here, and then it'll just say 2D. 2D is texture. There are some things in Unity that they've done that are questionable. That would be one of them. But so basically, you're going to want to be able to pass in the threshold of the bloom. So you're going to just say underscore threshold to kind of keep to their standard threshold float. And then just say, okay. And then here, because that's actually not the shader, that just says, hey, this shader has something called threshold that can be exposed to scripts. So then now you're going to go down here and just say float underscore thresh. All right, I am. And then on here, so then here you can kind of cheat a little bit. So then range 1. Then void set float. And hopefully that code is kind of self-explanatory. Again, we expose threshold to script. And so now, essentially, whenever we can, I can write a little bit of a test. So to kind of prove that this is working, we can just say col times underscore threshold plus 1. I'm not really sure what this is going to do. I'm kind of too lazy to think about it. So I have an error, and you can tell by the giant purple screen. That is because that. And okay. So now, hopefully, all right. So it's bright white, and it's going to remain bright white. How interesting. Anyway, okay. So, but there you can kind of see it does technically work. But now, okay, so what about, I'm not gonna be able to finish Bloom script. Okay, so what about like a blurring? So blurring is gonna be the basis of almost every single shader that you'll ever write. So I'm gonna do a very basic like Gaussian blur. So how Gaussian blur works is it just samples all the pixels around it and just returns the average. So, okay, and then just, I do believe I actually did write this once in here before. All right. Oh, I can just. There's a solution. Did I put it in here? That'd be no. Shoot. Okay. Well, I don't think I have enough time to write this. I completely underestimated how long this would take.
It happens. It's no problem.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Alex? Matt?
Oh, hello.
Okay. Tanner, do you have a question? All right. Well, let's give Alex a round of applause. Thank you so much. Kick you out. All right. Let's see. Now, window. Okay, I don't want to. There we go. Okay. I think we have time for probably 2 more. Mark? Okay. Let's give Mark a round of applause. What will you be talking to us about today?
From a website.
Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. I'll just share that screen. And take it away.
So this is kind of related to what Jason was talking about. Let me get this. And just a second here. I can't see what I. There it is. So this is a Jupyter, the Jupyter server, and I was just going to show some simple code from a notebook, an IPython notebook inside Jupyter. So here we have this simple math function. It generates a sequence of numbers. So oh yeah, sorry. So it's for all positive integers. If you feed it an even number, it divides by 2, and if it's odd, it's 3 times the number plus 1, and then it'll generate a sequence that, like if you give it 5, it'll go 16, 8, 4, 2, 1, and then it repeats forever. And the interesting thing about these kind of numbers is that every positive integer will always end in 4, 2, 1, as far as anyone has ever checked. There's no mathematical proof for it. It's also called half or triple plus 1. So if I wanted to write some code to generate the sequence and stop at 1, then here's a simple Python function that recurses. And so if I call like feed it 5, then it'll give me to print out the sequence. And if I do like 10, so a similar sequence, and then a larger number. So it all ends in 4, 2, 1. But what if I wanted to like do an infinite sequence and not have it like arbitrarily stop at 1? I can change my function, and I'll use a while loop here, and I'll just use yield instead of print at the end, and then I can that's a definition, and then I can create a generator, and then I can just use next with it, and it'll keep going forever. So that's how you do generators in Python. And then if I wanted to like find the longest sequence from 1 to n, like the integer that gives the longest sequence, I'll bring in a library since the code's a little bit longer. So if I did it from 1 to 10, it would be 9 in this case, and it gives me a length of 19 numbers. Then we can just see what that sequence is. So if you counted that, I think that's 19, I hope. And then this would be from 1 to a million. It takes a couple of seconds for Python because it's a little bit slow, but so that would be 83,700 or 837,000. It has a length of 524. And then if you wanted to like plot the length of sequences from 1 to a million, you get this what's called a hailstone plot, where this is the y-axis is the length of the sequence, and then it goes from 1 to a million on the x. And you can see how the sequence varies a lot. There's no discernible pattern to this, so that's why it's called wondrous numbers. And I think our number is up here in the outliers, like right there. And so we saw that the Python one took about 2 or 3.69 seconds on this server. And if I had to run this from my local computer because I messed up the server installation, but at the last second. So the Go time, this is a Go binary, and it was about 204 milliseconds for it to communicate with Go, but it was actually maybe like 0.05 seconds. So if I wanted to get Python to run somewhat close to that, I would have to JIT compile it. And there's this library called Numba, and it uses LLVM to JIT compile, and it can target CPUs or GPUs. And so didn't get this running on the server, so I had to run this on my local machine. So the first time, well, actually, let me go over into in the library itself. It's the same code as the other one, but you bring in the JIT from the Numba library or module, and then you can use a decorator in front of the functions that run. So the first time they're called, they will JIT compile. So that took about less than half as much time, but it was a JIT compilation time. So the second time you call it, it will only take 135 milliseconds. So now it's like 25 times, 30 times faster. Not quite as fast as Go, but maybe within 2 to 3 times for this simple algorithm. And then the last thing, just for fun, if you wanted to print goats instead of numbers, sequences, then you can just, so 8 or 16, 8, 4, 2, 1, and then if you wanted a lot of them, you can do that. So lightning? Yeah, you could. You're right. I don't know what the Unicode symbol is for that. All right, so that's it. Any questions?
So you can have like Python as some cells and then other like those.
Yeah, you can. I didn't have another, like this Jupyter can run with a lot of different language kernels if you have them installed on the server. So I don't have any because I set this up like an hour before I came here. So, but you could have like R and Julia and even Go. There's a Gopher notebook. Haskell, yes, you can run Haskell on here. So, any other questions? I don't know about that. It's a little bit difficult with compiled languages. So. Great.
Let's give Mark a round of applause. For our last speaker for tonight is going to be the Honorable Jim Rice. Let's give him a round of applause. Let me guess. Okay. And there you go.
Actually, I was just going to talk about art history, but I guess we'll talk about the game jam. Yeah, darn it, Kelly. You very, very, in a humbling way, stole my thunder. It's really awesome to see. So there's one like testimonial, and he went to the last one. So this will be our 4th one coming up in July. I've got some flyers in the back. If you're not interested in the game jam, you're wrong. No, but Kelly hit on a lot of the great points about it, and it had a lot of really good recommendations. I mean, he was a one-man team, and he had a lot going for him with his art background, but he also, we've had some games come through where they had great artists, but the scope was an issue, right? You bite off more than you can chew, and then, you know, instead of like having a clear vision for what your game is and then tacking on once you've got that feeling great, and then, you know, just adding features, you know, on the last half of Saturday and Sunday, having that focus really helps. But even if you overscope, even if you go and the thing I like most about it, and I see people coming away from it, having done that classic thing that I do all the time and biting off more than you can chew, writing down too long of a list of things to do, is you still tackled something scary, right? Like you could have stayed home and marathoned some TV show that, you know, I've done that before, you know, there's no shame in that, but I mean, you know, mix it up a little bit, and then you have that experience to lean on next time, you know, you want to pitch something maybe a little scary at work, or, you know, something goes up in smoke on your car, and you're like, well, maybe I could look up a YouTube video, and you'll have that experience to lean on and say, like, I tackled something scary, and I was able to make a thing happen when I pushed a button, you know. And if that's if you can encapsulate that and apply that to other things in life, it's a I don't know, it's a metaphor that I try to bring up whenever I feel like I'm hitting a wall with something else, right? So this is our lowest price ever. Early bird tickets are $20. I don't know. We've got some people that have paid $60 before. Chris, would you say it was worth it?
Totally.
Totally worth it. So we will feed you The shirts are opt-in now. We'll have like a Teespring campaign where beautiful T-shirts. I'm wearing the first one. I'm wearing one. This was planned. But yeah, it'll get mailed to you instead of me retroactively trying to find where you are and get you some late shirts. We will have a celebrity judge as we did in February. It's more fun if I were able to embarrass him if Brent was here in person. But oh no, websites. So Brent Sodman, if ever you have heard of Enter the Gungeon, pretty okay itty bitty little indie game that yeah.
It's recorded.
So he will be judging your every decision and making you know he's extremely generous guy and eager to. He will poke you and ask you like, do you have some questions, like how you doing? But also you should go and poke him and pick his brain because even if he's not like he uses Unity, but he has a lot of just extremely helpful advice. And everyone else too. Like we'll have a lot of returning folks that have done this many times before, and it's just it's a great community and it's a great experience. And so yeah, if you know C#, JavaScript, if you need something that is more of like a visual scripting method of attack or approach, there are game engines out there, and it's perfectly fine to go and grab whatever their example project is and tweak a few things on it. What you get out of it is totally up to you. Whether you find out that it's worth it or not is totally up to you. Just come out and have fun, and yeah, if nothing else, come see what everybody else made on Sunday. Sunday from 2 to 4:30, you come out to Butler and play the games and vote on your favorites. And if you are not interested in the game jam, number one, you're wrong. Two, maybe you'll know somebody that is or would be, and let me try to brainwash them and get them to come hang out. So yeah, Butler will even be providing some computers. There won't be enough for everyone. Most people do prefer to bring their own gear, but if that's if you know ahead of time that someone would be interested, but maybe they're running on a netbook or a smartphone, like we can help them out. So yeah, it'd be a big room. That was a good room. Like we keep filling rooms. It's a good problem to have, but Butler's got a pretty big lab and lots of room to lots of room to stretch out. Bring an air mattress or something. So, all right.
How many game jams?
This will be the 4th. We had the first one in 2015. He asked how many game jams we've got so far. Had our first winter one in February. It was a fantastic experiment, a successful experiment, seeing if anybody would show up. It was our biggest turnout yet. So, and Butler is really going for it. They're going to make it huge. Lots of room, and really drove the ticket price down. And yeah.
Ryan and John were both issued colleges.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we got some teachers screaming at students to to sign up. So yeah, of the people that went have gone to one, how many went to a game jam at all? Like even in this, yeah. How many was it your first time making a game? Period. Something playable. Like okay, yeah. Out of the 5, 3, right? That's even with that small sample size. That's I did some surveys a while back, and that's pretty standard. You know, if you're like, I've never made a game before, you know, big whoop. Yeah, doesn't have to be 2D, doesn't have to be 3D. If you want to do it all, if you want to make it a terminal application,
Doesn't even have to be electronic.
No. You want to make a board game? Bring your gear. Yeah, construction paper. Yeah, if you got a 3D printer that prints fast enough. So, all right.
Thank you, Jim.
You heard about the Game Jam?
ICTGameJam.com. Check it out. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everyone, for watching.